Hi everyone. This is a video that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but kind of not known where to start. So forgive me for if it's a little rusty, but this is my first attempt. I wanted to talk to you about mental health, especially in light of the pandemic that's been going on over the last few months. And we've all been stuck in our homes, isolated and away from the world. Let me give you a little brief history about what has led me to this point. I was diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 13 months, so I've had it practically my whole life. I've been to various different schools for a number of reasons and was bullied at all but one. I've been through a very, very turbulent home life as well, as a result of a lot of things that went on. At the age of 16, I had an experience where my sugar level dropped so low, a hypoglycemic attack, which then meant that I could have gone into a coma had I not taken a special injection to revive me. That's where my anxiety attack started, anxiety or panic attacks, I should say. The age of 19, as a result of an altercation that happened with the last school I went to, I had a nervous breakdown, and that's when my depression started. So I had a mixture of anxiety, depression, and then the diabetes to manage as well. I've been to countless therapists over the last 16 odd years, and only in the last 8 have I made the progress I have where I can sit and talk to you today. And had I not found it, I don't think I would be here today. The problem with mental health is that there aren't defined parameters. Like, you can't take a blood test and say, this is what you have and this is the level you have, like a lot of other illnesses out there. It manifests itself in countless ways. I mean, I say anxiety and depression, people who have, alcohol or drug addiction, gambling addiction, any sort of addiction or behavior of that sort is how traumas can be manifested. So you don't have the breakdown, but your traumas are channeling themselves in that direction, which is why it can be so difficult to actually let go of those behaviors, because you just don't have any control over them. I mean, the fact that self-help and videos like I'm doing now are so mainstream just shows how much this problem has escalated over the last, I'd say, 10 to 15 years. And hopefully I'll go into that in another video at some point soon. I've found that there is a massive stigma when it comes to, especially men, talking about their mental health. And I've noticed that ladies are much more open when it comes to the subject, because there is less of that social stigma to them opening up about it. And I think that really needs to change. I mean, the highest rate of suicide is men under 35. And that's because a lot of them either don't acknowledge that they are suffering, or they're just afraid to talk as a result of being seen as weak. And the irony is that, admitting you have an issue or issues and talking about them is one of the bravest and profound things that man, woman, anyone can do. So that's how it's got to be looked at. And at the end of the day, otherwise it becomes a pressure cooker. You just issues pile on, pile on, pile on until that weight eventually collapses, which is what leads a lot of people to suicide then. And it's what caused my breakdown over 19 years, the amount of weight I was carrying on my shoulders, which then just caused me to collapse. And I guess the irony is, in a way, that I found it almost I call it an enlightening. I don't even, in some ways, because I would never have gained the knowledge and experience that I have in life and just about people in the world had I not suffered this breakdown. And so in a massive part, I am grateful for it, even though I suffer. So when it actually comes to suffering with mental health, it's very difficult for people who don't suffer to understand. It's like any illness, but this one, because it's not one that you can see so blatantly, that it's very difficult for people to sympathize. I mean, empathy is something that you wouldn't be able to experience because unless you suffer from it yourself. But even sympathy is very difficult. When you see someone, say, not being able to get out of bed, you're just thinking, well, they're just being lazy. The fact that they within themselves probably feel like a lead balloon and cannot physically move, you will not understand that. And so unfortunately, it's just that a lot of the symptoms can be seen as people just either being awkward or lazy or just labeling them in some way to justify their behavior and not see that they're actually suffering. And I think that also really needs to change. It really does, because people don't choose to be like that. They are being forced into that position. It's almost like, look at the pandemic. A lot of people who don't even suffer from mental health problems are struggling because they're isolated, they're lacking social contact, they're, prisoners in a way. That's what people with mental health problems feel like 24/7, all year round. And that is a visual representation of what we go through up here. And so it's pretty ironic that, I myself, being in quarantine or isolation, whatever you want to call it, this hasn't changed my life that much. It really hasn't. And so I'm not struggling any more so than I usually would, because I'm always a prisoner. And don't get me wrong, there are good days and bad days, but when you have zero control over waking up and whether you can even get out of bed to start with, or then what your day is going to look like, as a result of just what your body is doing or your nervous system is doing to you, it's very difficult to live life like that. Very, very difficult. And I just cannot stress how difficult it is for those of us out there who go through this. And things like medication aren't the answer, because they have their own side effects. They don't always work for everyone. There's no set kind of scale as to if you take this much you'll be okay. It's all very much trial and error. I mean, I had to go through 3 different tablets over God knows how many months before I found something that at least worked to some extent and took the edge off for me. And yeah, so I really hope this video encourages more men to talk about their problems and, just worry about your well-being rather than what people think. And that applies to everybody, but particularly men, and if you never watch another video of mine, one thing I beg of you is look up somatic experiencing. I will put a couple of links for you to be able to click on in the description section of the video. But it is truly what saved my life. And I will go into it in another video, which if you choose to watch, then you'll get a bit more of an insight, but there's so much literature about it, and I wish it was more mainstream. It goes much deeper than cognitive behavioral therapy, which never worked for me. And after seeing 6 different therapists in that time, in over few years, I was beyond that. And this went much deeper and really managed to change my life, my nervous system, my mind in so many different ways. What you see today is more, God knows how many miles from what I was even 5 years ago. My beard was out here, my hair was there. I was just an absolute mess. I wouldn't really get out of bed. I didn't care if I lived or died. And I still have days like that now, but it's not 24/7, and it's just a lot more erratic now. There are the ups, there are the downs. So yeah, somatic experiencing is a lifesaver. So I really hope you do look into it. And I want everyone out there to know that my virtual door is always open to you. I will put my details in the video so that you can see where I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and you are more than welcome to contact me at any point if you are suffering, feeling low mood, anything. I'll be glad to talk to you and share my experiences, and just so you know, there is someone there who cares and who understands as well. So I really hope this video has helped everyone, and stay safe out there. Thanks.